What's up, creeps? Welcome to the Let's Talk Horror channel with me, BP. On this video, I'm doing a review. Now, I know it's been ages since I've done one, but finally, there's a film worth me talking about. And luckily, I got to go and see an early screening of the movie I'm going to be talking about. And I couldn't be more happy about that because this is one of my most anticipated movies of this year. Probably just behind Evil Dead Rise. This film was there. And this is Talk to Me. Talk to Me is a really interesting idea. It's a fresh, new, modern take on this sort of possession horror that you get. It goes to places that you don't expect. It gets real dark, it gets real twisted, but I really want to talk a little bit more detail into what happens in the movie. And it's been an interesting journey for this film, and especially for the directors as well. So let's get into it, but remember, like it says at the start, there is spoilers, so be warned. So like I said at the start, this film has had an interesting journey because it's actually directed by the creators of the old school, absolutely classic, legendary YouTube channel, Raka Raka. If you've seen their videos, you know what I'm talking about. They are so much fun. There's so much inventiveness within what they do. And it was just such a unique, clever idea of what they did. It started a lot for them. And now they've moved in to making movies. And what I absolutely love is when these really quite clearly talented filmmakers go into making horror, because we know that we're going to get potentially something that we've not seen before. And I feel that we get that within aspects of Talk to Me. Now, when I do these reviews, I like to talk about sort of good bits, if there's bad bits, give you sort of an overall conclusion. So if we get into what's good about it, well, luckily for a horror fan or anybody that just loves movies, there's lots of good bits. The film itself looks fantastic, which once again shows how clearly talented they are as directors, because it feels like they knew every aspect of what they were trying to achieve or what they were trying to put out there for the viewer. It works so well. It has the close-ups when it needs to. On a technical standpoint, it has the close-ups. It has the wide-angle shots so you can see it all. This film is really aesthetically a very, very nice-looking film. Is it quite reminiscent, or can be, you know, sort of like the Evil Dead from 2013 and so on? Yeah, but you can't really blame it for doing that because that was such a successful film. And once again, visually and aesthetically, it looked gorgeous. So, yeah, it reminds me of that a little bit, but this film is sort of on its own in regards to that. It is what it is. It's its own thing. And I love it for that. So they did a fantastic, fantastic job. The effects in it, where it gets violent, everything, that looks absolutely fantastic. So you can't, once again, you can't blame that. And there is some like weird little things in this as well that would make me think of, you know, other movies as well. For example, Evil Dead feels like quite a clear influence on this film. But also there's like the odd bit as well, where there's a bit where it sort of reminded me of Society. If you've ever seen that film, you know what I mean. And when you watch this film, then you'll probably figure out what I mean by that as well. But there's loads of, not necessarily references or not necessarily homages. It just, you can quite clearly see that the directors have a love for this genre. And they're trying to integrate their own storytelling, their own way of directing into it. And once again, it means that you're excited of what comes next. You're excited about watching this film. You watch it, it's a great one, and then you can't wait to see what comes next. So they did a fantastic job. One of the other things that I absolutely love, and one thing that is so integral and once again makes me think of the Evil Dead movies when I'm talking about this film, is the sound. The sound is one of the best things about this movie. They clearly know how important sound is to horror and movies, because the way that they utilize it to deliver that extra impact for us as the viewer is absolutely incredible. Whether that is one of the actors or actresses in it that is slapping themselves around the face, they heighten that sound of the slap. It sounds so real, but at the same time, it's one of those things where I've not really heard it sound like that before, because they've heightened the levels of it. But everybody that was in there at cinema, they even know if it wasn't a bit with blood or guts or violence, it was you could hear everybody gasp in the cinema because of how impactful having that extra level of sound on top of just the slap was there. But But then when the violence happens, the sound is still there, whether it's bones breaking and you hear every crunch, whether somebody's trying to take their eye out and you hear all the squelching sound and everything. The sound in this film is absolutely phenomenal and some of the best I've heard in a film for a long time, because it was all purposeful. You could tell that they knew that how important it is to the movie, to horror, and they knew when and how to achieve that extra, as I say, level of impact, and fair play to them because they did absolutely amazing job. So the sound in this film is one of the best things, as well as one of the other best things, the performances. You cannot fault the performances in it. They do exactly what they need to. They go above and beyond, and they put out every sort of character that they need to within this movie. They do it perfectly, whether they are there for essentially for the comic relief of the movie, which is once again always a little bit weird to have in these sort of quite intense films, but it really, you know, you feel a bit rewarded for it when it happens because it's always funny. This film has laugh out loud and funny moments. When it goes dark and twisted, it goes to those places, but it is very funny. And the script work, everything they do, the performances, as I say, top notch. You're there along this journey with these characters. Sometimes they make the right choices, sometimes they make the wrong choices. You're still there and they do a fantastic job. But one of the other things that I absolutely love about this film is essentially the shock value of the movie when it comes to the violence. Like I said earlier and I mentioned with the sound, when these things happen in this movie, it goes off. And the violence is so impactful because it can have a really silent moment and the next minute somebody is smashing their facing. You see it all, it doesn't hide away. The sound obviously impacts it as well, but it's the visuals of it. It's incredibly well directed, like I've already mentioned 100 times, but it just looks absolutely incredible. But the impact that the violence has, they utilize it really well because it doesn't just happen the whole film, it happens when it needs to. And it delivers that extra punch to, you know, of impact that it gives to the viewers when you're watching it. Once again, when I was sitting there and you could tell people were getting really uncomfortable with the violence of the movie. So there is so much to enjoy and like about this movie. In regards to what I don't like, there isn't much. Honestly, there isn't much. The film is only just over an hour and a half, so there's very little time for you to have stuff that you don't like. I would probably say sometimes the music in the start of the film and throughout the film, you know, a lot of the time the scores really drive horror. And I wouldn't necessarily say the score itself is something that has had a lasting effect on how I think about the film, which is a bit unfortunate because this film could have really had one of those really impactful, you know, sort of Hollywood-esque scores like they have in horror movies now, and that could have really helped sell some of the impact, but it wasn't there. But it's not necessarily a bad thing because you had all this amazing stuff to make up for it. And then also the music at the start when it's at the parties or when they're doing parties, I don't necessarily like that and it took me out of it a bit, but then a lot of that is me, you know. I'm an old man, so I don't like the type of music they're putting into it. So, but this is once again, it is a film for a modern day audience. And that's really what I need to get into for the conclusion is, you know, this is a film that people like me, old school horror fans, can really enjoy because it has the sound, it has the directing, it has the aesthetics, it has the impact, you know, it has everything you really need. But it is also a film very much like we recently had Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. It is a film for a modern day horror audience, for a modern day horror fan. And what I mean by that is, you know, where I've been around for a while, I've got my classics. I've had my classics. I probably won't get more classics in my lifetime. Films like Talk to Me are the films that the modern day horror fans now, who are 18, 20, or even younger, all of you younger horror fans out there now, these are the films that could potentially become your classics and their classics. And this is a good place to be with horror in regards to it because you can sit there and enjoy it, but so will everyone else that's there now that are watching these and are going to be essentially carrying the torch for us future horror fans of saying, well, in 2023 I saw a film called Talk to Me and it was absolutely incredible. You know, horror is always going to live on. It creates more and more all the time. It's making money for cinema. and let's hope that continues. But films like Talk to Me are films that you hope don't go under the radar, because you can tell that there's been a lot of love put into making it, a lot of heart, and a lot of understanding of the genre, and a lot of understanding of filmmaking to know when to do things, when to not do things. And they pull that off perfectly within this movie. So as you can tell, I really enjoyed Talk to Me. I think it is definitely going to be one of those films that will be talked about this year in regards to a lot of people's favourite movies. And I think it has the potential to live on, potentially, you know, where are we going to be talking about Talk to Me in 10, 20 years? In all honesty, I don't know. Will the younger horror fans be talking about Talk to Me in 10, 20 years? Yeah, probably, because this is their time now. Like it is always constantly revolving, it's their time for these sort of new films that are, to us, are films that we might have seen before but done in different ways. To them, it's new, it's fresh, it's modern to them, and they are going to be carrying the torch to say these are going to be the classics of the future. And I think Talk to Me definitely has the potential to do that. So if you haven't, well, you haven't seen this movie yet because it's not out. Although, you know, I'm releasing this, so it probably is out now. But please take yourself and everyone else and your mates to go and see Talk to Me. You will have a fantastic time. And once you've done it, support it, share it on. It's a fantastic movie. I really enjoyed my time. You got to go and see it. You really have to see Talk to Me. It gets 2 thumbs up. So I don't know what it is. I don't really rate things, but 2 thumbs up is like as high as what you can get, isn't it? So it does a great job. Directors do a great job. Performances, sound, everything you need is in it. Go and watch it.